for those of you who are just joining, this is the International Women's Day Global Pop-Up Newsroom. We are hosting this from the Asian College of Journalism in Chennai, but we have experts and journalists from across the world joining us and sharing their expertise. And next up, we're going to head over to Africa to see what different journalists and experts over there have to say and what stories that they have to share. So I'm going to hand the mic over to Maureen. Hi, Maureen. Happy
Hello.
International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day to you too, Sonika.
Thank you so much for joining us and for spearheading this team. So Maureen is a Kenyan journalist and lecturer who's currently based in Cyprus. And yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Sonika. Today we're joined by a number of women in Africa from Kenya and Uganda. So we are waiting for them to come in a few seconds. One thing that has happened in Kenya lately that has us worried is on Friday, one lady was driving in the city and unfortunately she hits a passerby. And then all of a sudden, men who are motorbike riders from every side just came in where she was, opened her car, tore her dress, and they started beating her. The reason being because she hit somebody. But I mean, in this day and age, you wonder and you get worried, why would this happen in Kenya, in Nairobi? And with that, I just want us to welcome the first person on board, and we can continue this discussion. Deborah.
Yes.
Hello, Deborah. How are you doing?
Hello, Maureen. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. Despite the news that has been trending over the weekend about this lady motorist who was sexually harassed by motorbike operators in Nairobi, I'm so happy that the president has now announced that there's going to be a crackdown on illegal operators of motorbikes. So we are really looking forward to that happening. It was really a damper, especially waking up to that on International World Women's Day, because it really feels like we're making 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. But however, we must rise. We must still celebrate all the accomplishments we've made as women, despite the setbacks we may face. So indeed, it was very sad, but I'm glad that we've all risen to the occasion and we've all supported in this cause.
I'm so happy to hear that. It was really disheartening from Cyprus to read such news about a young woman and the impact these attackers had on her. I cannot imagine how she will be able to, be in a group of men and still feel safe. So yes. I'm glad the president was able to come up with this law, and I hope it's implemented soon.
Yes, we also look forward to the same. Thank you.
All right, Deborah. So tell us who is Deborah and tell us everything about you.
Okay, my name is Deborah Ouma Ware. I am a Kenyan woman living in Kenya. I like to think of myself as a creative expression, a creative who is full of expression. I really am about social justice and the impact we can make in our own little way. I'm greatly inspired by Wangari Maathai and the story of the hummingbird, where she says we all have a chance to make an impact in whatever way we can. So I'm greatly inspired by that. And it really shows in the work that I do. I work as the Chief Operations Officer of a technology company called Retail Pay, where we really offer solutions to the retail value chain in as much as delivery of products across the ecosystem and making it very, very affordable for traders to access technology and to access goods on credit. I also believe in giving back, hence positive circles, which I'm sure we'll talk about much later. So I'm a big believer in positivity, in the law of attraction, and I feel that what you really give is what you really get. So we should all strive to be better, a better version of ourselves. I'm also a reluctant leader. Let me say I'm a reluctant leader because I always feel like I have to do something, even though I don't want to do it, because it's not in my natural element. Extroverts, we are not natural leaders, but sometimes you just have to step up Sometimes it could be reluctant because if you don't do it, no one else will do it. I'd also like to think of myself as a Pan-Africanist. I'd like to think of myself as a feminist, which is quite of an oxymoron because I'm happily married with two lovely kids. So people always get confused. But in a nutshell, that's who Deborah is. I love life. I believe in giving back. I love creating impact in the spaces around me.
That's so beautiful. You are all rounded. So this is so very good.
I hope so.
So growing up as a young Deborah, are there some roles that you were given in the family or in the society and you felt maybe this one I shouldn't do, or it's okay, we can all do? And how does this impact you when you're growing up?
Yeah. So I'm quite lucky that I grew up amongst feminists. My grandmother, Deborah Otuga, was among the first flight of Africans to travel around the world with the feminist movement. She traveled twice to London. I remember seeing her pictures growing up. She raised a very strong, independent woman who's my mom. And my mom married a feminist. So growing up, my dad was a feminist. My dad affirmed me. My dad told me I can do everything I can do. We didn't have gender-specific roles. He always told me, don't let anyone treat you differently because you're a woman. And I really did carry that through until I got into the real world where I'm trying to use my voice and I'm asked, how dare you? Don't you know your place? I remember sometimes visiting with maybe relatives and I want to watch the 9 o'clock news, for example, and I'm not allowed to watch that because you should be in the kitchen. So in as much as sometimes in our spaces, we may really want to bring out the best in women, we go out into the real world and you realize there's some barriers, there's some biases, there's some things you're not allowed to do. And navigating that now becomes now the real work. So for me, growing up, I didn't feel limited in any way in my home. But once I stepped out of my home, I really did feel like I'm really confronted with this notion of I am a woman. And that didn't stop me. I still feel like I can use my voice. I still feel like I can take space. So I recognize that, but I very quickly adapt and just allow people to see me first as a person and then second as a woman.
That's beautiful. And I'm so happy that your father was able to work with you, because many fathers nowadays, or maybe during our time when we were growing up, they were not available, or even when they were available, they were just manly men. And the only
Yes,
thing they could do is provide and not basically to hold your hands and work with you as a woman, which is really important for the young girls as they're growing, to
I
shape
think
them.
so. Thank you.
I'm glad about your father.
All right,
In,
thanks. I'm glad to. I'm
in
glad
your
to. I really feel privileged to be raised by him.
Great. In your opinion, would you say that Kenyans in Kenya are men more favored? For example, when it comes to work or education, are men more favored or are women more favored?
I
Or is it
definitely
something that we can compare?
I definitely believe men are more favored. When you look at rural Kenya, for example, once a woman goes home from school, they're really expected to do a lot in terms of chores in the house, watching the baby, helping mommy to cook, while the boy has more opportunity to study. So definitely it starts when we are young. Boys have more opportunity. As we grow older, as girls, even in the cities growing up, a girl wants to play soccer, a girl wants to play basketball, and she's told no. Girls are more protected in terms of what they can learn, what they can know, which world they can be exposed to. So this really limits their worldview. This limits their exposure. So definitely, I think boys are really pushed to be all they can be, while girls are told, no, I don't think so. Maybe not. Maybe stay at home. Maybe don't go for that sporting event. It's not safe. And a lot of it comes from the vulnerability of girls in spaces in Kenya and in Africa, where we've seen over the weekend, women are really generally not safe, but this also limits them in what they can learn, what they can experience. So by the time they leave school, yes, they could have performed well, but they could have performed better if they were given opportunity to be all they can be in their spaces. Yeah.
I totally agree with you. Sometimes parents are doing this out of love,
Yeah.
because of, as you say, some societies and some environments are not very safe for the girl child. So maybe we should also, as a government, as a society, try to create safe environments where we are all safe and equal, so that we can play and engage in every activity that we want.
Yes, for sure. Definitely.
You also mentioned that you're a COO at Retail Pay, and I would
Yes.
like to know, as a COO there, what are you doing to ensure there is equality, there is equity, and for example, if there's women want to engage in some of the technologies that you're offering, are there specific guidelines that are set aside for women or for the young ladies that are coming up in their businesses, and how do you support them?
Yeah, this is quite a good question because there are two parts of it. The first part is in terms of the employee. How are we really supporting? How is the culture supporting equity in the workplace? And for me, I always feel like leadership is so difficult because, in as much as there could be laws that protect women in the workplace, to give them a level playing field, sometimes you have to look at the moral and ethical aspects of it. For example, if a lady is expectant, or if a lady has been expectant, has delivered a child, this child perhaps has a congenital disease which forces the woman to go beyond the 3 months maternity leave. As a leader, what ethics or what morality are you applying in such a situation? So I feel it's very fluid, but as an organization, I'm so glad we are woman led because I work under a woman CEO. My group HR partner is a woman. So we've really tried to have a very inclusive environment in as much as women are concerned, in terms of breastfeeding rooms, in terms of skills-based and competency-based recruitment. We are encouraging female developers to apply. We are so happy when a female dev joins the engineering team. And, for us, it's opening the door even further for such talent. It's not been easy, definitely, because it keeps changing. The dynamics of the workplace keep changing, and you've got to be very attuned for the demands. Inclusivity means meeting your employees, both men and women, at their point of their diversity. So how do we enhance that? I think by learning constantly, we are a learning organization. We believe in learning. We're able to implement policy. Currently, we had the pandemic. We had to implement a COVID-19 pandemic to be very cognizant that there could be some people who have pre-existing conditions that make them susceptible. So how do you make it inclusive for them to work in such an environment without having to come to the office? So once you look at it from that perspective, you feel that you really have to be agile, especially working beyond 2020 in the workplace. Lots of young people, they've got different needs. Some want to keep their hair long, someone to work from home for whatever reason. You have expectant mothers, you have to make them feel safe. You have people with university degrees or diplomas, but they are so highly skilled. Should we include them or should we exclude them? So that has been the reality on the ground. It's very fluid. So you have to look beyond the legal framework, and you have to consider the ethical issues, the moral issues, and you have to look at the individuals as they are. When it comes to retail pay, we do have women retailers, we do have women businesses on the platform. And Retail Pay is a donor-funded project, and one of the key pillars we have is inclusivity of women, youth, and the physically challenged. So what we are so happy about is that we see women interacting with technology. There's been a bias that women are not able to adopt technology as fast as men, but we've managed to shatter that misconception. We've got about 40% of women on our platform, which is quite significant given that the business owners, majority of them are men. But you find a business owner who's a man, married to a woman, and the woman takes ownership of the technology and uses it to enhance her business. So we're very proud of our retail partners. We're very proud of our supply partners who are women, and we really do try and enhance and also meet them at their point of need, because we know some of them have challenges, and we really do try and address some of those challenges, like liquidity, like access to capital, like raising family and growing a business. So we are able to really work with them on that journey and really support them in terms of using the technology and growing their business.
That's very nice to hear about retail pay and the fact that you're supporting the staff members to be able to, to work as women and feel safe to working there, and the fact that you're also supporting the retailers and incorporating both women, youth, and also those who are challenged or abled in a different way.
Abled in a different way, yes.
Yes. So other than this, you also have positive circles. Why positive circles, not squares, if I may ask? But why? Why positive circles? Where did the name come from? When did you start? What is that need for you to create positive circles?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Maureen. Indeed, it's been quite a reflective journey for me. Positive Circles was founded at the height of the pandemic, where we had social distancing, which ensured that places of worship were closed, restaurants were closed, we were not going to work physically, we were working remotely, our kids were in the house. There was such a disconnectedness in the world. And that's when we realized that it's so important. I realized that our social circles are so important to us because those are our safe places. Those are places you share happy moments, sad moments. Those are places you unwind, you grab a glass of wine after work with your colleagues and you talk and you talk and you vent. Those spaces ceased to exist. And you found that depression was at an all-time high. Zalendo Watch produced a report here in Kenya saying that 2020 depression and mental health was reaching an almost national epidemic. So that means that I realized that we need spaces for us to talk, positive spaces which you can grow as women, positive places where you can learn, positive places where you can have fun. So I came up with this with some of my close associates. We were able to found these positive circles as a space where women can learn from each other. You realize that women, we are so full of knowledge and resource within us. Sometimes I used to go sometimes to public events to listen to a speaker. By the end of it, I'm like, but I knew everything she was talking about. And I paid for this event. So we really wanted women to learn from each other because I feel women are very resourceful. So we come together every month, either physically or virtually, to just learn about something new or to celebrate an achievement together. In December, we celebrated Wangari Maathai, just remembering who she was to us, drawing inspiration from us. We learn about parenting. We have parenting modules. We have modules on self-love. We have modules on mental health. We want to have more and more modules like this, which can help us grow as women and grow as good citizens of the world. So basically, it was just a network where we wanted to learn, share, inspire, and have fun together.
All right. So thank you so much. It's a very good space to be. Would like to know, if I am here in Cyprus, how would I join Positive Circles? And is there any membership fee? You have a website?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Maureen, you're quite welcome to join Positive Circles. Positive Circles, first of all, you don't have to be, because we sometimes include men in some of our programs and children, but the primary focus is women. So you have to be a woman. If you're a woman, if you're growth oriented, if you believe that you can be the best version of Maureen, then you're welcome to join us. If you're in Cyprus, kindly log on to our Instagram page. It's positivecircles.ke. We also have a Facebook page, which is positivecircles.ke, and you can interact with us, you can learn from us, you can plug in onto virtual events that are happening or physical events that are happening. For you, I would assume you would join our virtual events, so that's also welcome. Currently, we are not charging any premium to join. We don't have any membership as of now. Because we are really building the network. We really want to grow the numbers. We really want to make the impact. So how we're usually supported by the entrance fees during the monthly events, or sometimes we have sponsors who actually sponsor us, individual sponsors who give their time and money to make this possible.
That's nice to hear. And I hope as many women and men can join, and together they can grow positively.
Yes, we're looking forward to that.
The last question that I have is, as a woman who is married, because you said you're married, we
Yes.
assume you have kids. And
Yeah.
how are you mentoring your kids to be better versions of themselves in a society that is not very nice, especially now with the story that is trending in Kenya? So how are you mentoring them to be better people in the future?
Yeah. Yeah. The interesting thing, first of all, let me mention I've got two boys. The first boy is 8, he's called Kwe, and my second son is 3.5, he's called Kito. And it's such a joy to raise them, because you enter into motherhood really believing that you're the one who's going to teach these kids, and I'm going to teach them this, and they're going to learn this, and they're going to be this. But the most amazing thing is that my children have really, really, really taught me a lot, especially in terms of this year's theme of International Women's Day, breaking the bias. My second son loves to cook, and every time I would get home, I'd get a cooking pan. We call them sufuria here in Kenya. I'd get a cooking pan on the chair. I'd get spaghetti. I'd get rice, and I encourage that, because I believe that cooking is not a gender-specific role. It actually is a life skill. And I remember one day we went to the supermarket and he saw a cooking set and he started crying for the cooking set. And you know, traditionally, cooking sets are usually bought for our girl children. And what I did is I picked up this cooking set and I actually got it for him. And I was like, you know what? My son loves to cook. He might as well be one of the best chefs. He's going to cook for his family one day. So why not start inculcating that culture with him quite early? So actually, he's the one who prompted me to look at things a bit more. You already know this, but how are you putting it into practice? My older son, at his age, he really is aware of himself. There's one day they were told to dress as their favorite book. And he told me, Mommy, my favorite story is Ugly Duckling, because everybody laughed at him. And in the end, he turned into a beautiful swan. So for the dress up for my story, I want to dress up as a swan. And my first instinct was no. You know, in my head, I'm like, this boy is testing me, because already in my head, I can imagine what's going to happen to him. He's going to get teased. Yeah, he's going to be called, he's going to be told things like, you look like a girl. You know, sometimes in Africa, you look like a girl, sometimes it's an insult, which I take very great offense with. But that's the first thing. So I had to also check myself. I had to go to the mall and I had to look for a beautiful swan-like outfit. I had to throw away the tutu, gave it to someone, and he wore that. He wore the wings, and he stayed with it the whole day. And for me, it was such a teachable moment for me. And in my head, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm the one who's biased. Maybe I should just keep quiet, and maybe I shouldn't just talk. So most times, if we just keep quiet as parents and allow our children to lead us, because for them, they already live in a world without bias. They already know what they want. They're not limited. We're the ones who put so much limitations on them. So I allowed him to shine for that day. When he came back, I asked him, how was it? How was it? And he told me, some of the boys, they were giggling and they were asking me, and I asked him, what did you say to them? And he told them, he said, I didn't care. I felt happy. I was a swan. And that's what I like. I like the book. So I didn't care. And it was such a proud moment for me because I really knew I'm raising a very strong boy. So I'm going to allow such opportunities to present themselves to me. Meanwhile, I'm going to teach them to be empathetic. I'm going to teach them to have high integrity. I'm going to teach them to speak out for themselves. I'm going to teach them not to think that it's okay to say that you run like a girl, you talk like a guy, you cry like a girl. I don't allow people to tell them, boys don't cry, boys don't do this. That's a rule I enforce in my house. And that's something that I really, really am intentional about. So I just want to say that as parents, let's be very careful in terms of supporting our children as young as they be. Let's support them because for them, they learn about being biased through us. So let's provide them with equal opportunities, and also let's talk to their school. I'm one parent who's always going to school and complaining and saying, this is what was taught by a teacher, or this is a project that I do not believe in because of A, B, C, D. And there's been some changes made in the school based on that. So it's something you can also push forward. Go to school, interact with their teachers, interact with some of their schoolmates, interact with the administration, find out what are some of the policies you have. What's your approach to education? What's your approach to learning? What's your approach to teaching about integrity? And then see if you align. So for me, I'm really proud of my kids. I'm really proud that they're able to teach mommy a thing or two about being less biased.
Thank you so much, Deborah, for finding time to join us today. We are happy because we have learned something that we as parents can also be biased, by choosing clothes that our kids should wear, but because it's the way we've been brought up ourselves, it's the culture that has been instilled in us. But we have learned something from you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Maureen, for having me. And please join Positive Circles on Instagram, positivecircles.ke.